I just want to say a huge thank you to Pathwater, one of the sponsors of Unbound Living. These are water bottles that I do not go anywhere without. I constantly refill it, reuse it. I drop salt in it. It's one of the best things that I've ever come across. If you have not tried Pathwater, you need to. So we are here today with Todd Stewart, a good friend of mine that I met not too long ago through fitness. And it's wild how these groups, and I don't want to call them cliques necessarily, but there are niche little groups, right? And the fitness industry and fitness community is very tight. And one of the things that I love about it is, for the most part, no matter who you meet, everybody is positive and everybody wants to help one another and be there for other individuals. And it's something that I dig. So, I met you through Brad.
Yeah.
And you guys have punished me, which has, been fun, but true. And you're a beast, man. You're a beast. So introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how long you've even been in Austin.
Yeah. Hey, it's good to be with you. Appreciate you inviting me in, and feel very grateful that you and I collided. I guess it's been about 2 months ago, but been in Austin about 14 years. And, I would agree with you. The fitness community in Austin is pretty tight. And, I work out on it, and it's just a phenomenal community. What I love is you walk in there and everybody's getting after it. It's hard to walk in there and say, hey, I'm gonna have a slow day.
Yeah.
This is a recovery day. Get in there, the music's booming, and people are slapping your back. And what I love also is just the level of humbleness. Everyone is a grinder. They're successful, and they're just a level of humbleness that is really touching.
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You and I also have mutual friends, Lisa Copeland.
Yeah.
Lisa Copeland's one of my wife's best friends, and I look at her like a big sister. She's a doll.
Incredible human being.
I adore her. And, it was kind of funny. She had, I think she called Bristol, and she's like, hey, wait a second. Is that Todd? And so she had called me, and she spoke the world of you. She said, she would not be where she is today if it was not for you. So to have someone like that without being prodded at all, speak that of you is huge, especially in a small community like Austin.
I think the world of Lisa Copeland. I've known her for a long time. I was on the OEM side and was part of launching the first Fiat franchise studio in the Domain with Lisa. And it was a non-traditional franchise model. It was in the Domain.
Yeah.
Our dealership in the Domain. And I think her showroom was 3,000 square feet. She had a storage lot like half a mile away, and became the #1 retail Fiat franchise in the world. We're selling 100 a month.
Isn't that insane?
Out of this boutique. And what I love too is her staff was predominantly female, which has been a struggle in that in that industry.
Yeah, it's predominantly male.
Yeah, and her energy level and her marketing savvy, nobody can touch.
Yeah, she's a beast. I mean, I wake up to phone calls from her, to my wife and everything, and those girls are two peas in a pod. I mean, they just and she is phenomenal. She speaks her mind.
Yeah, she is. Hey, before I forget, I want to congratulate you. I know you just wrapped up Houston High Rocks.
Oh yeah, Vegas.
Vegas.
Yes.
Vegas. Your first competition, and just extremely proud of you. I know that's a major challenge. I know you grinded hard, and I think back to like 3 weeks ago when we were training at Audi Shores. We were out there in the open grass area, and you did like 100 burpee broad jumps. I think it was like 80 degrees, and you just didn't stop. And you were. What I loved about that, it was a special moment because you really embraced the suffering and the pain. And I think that it was just very symbolic, because if we can all do that, if we can embrace the suffering and pain, whatever that might be, if we survive it, there's beauty on the other side, whether it's pushing yourself physically or life events, which I have one coming up that I think you're aware of. Can't speak to it right now. But if you can just weather that and push through it, you'll always find the beauty on the other side.
On the opposite side, and it
really
was. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And it was the goal was to finish, right? And I've never done one before, and never done anything like that, and definitely didn't run. I've been complaining about that from day one.
We're going to start doing
We're going to start doing a little more running, make sure I'm hydrated a heck of a lot more, get some IVs before, and it's learning all those little things to help fine tune those things. Because to your point, I never thought I would have done something like that, and I definitely would not have done something like that on my own.
Well, we're going to do a few of them, and the other thing about that special day 3 weeks ago was Bristol was out there. She was out there watching us, cheering you on, and that I found that very unique, and I think that was a testament, just to how special your relationship is. I love that, man.
Yeah, no, she's that. I mean, it's funny. Everybody goes, "Does she have a sister?" And granted, yes, they're all a lot older, right? And she's and we joke about it, but she's just an odd bird. I mean, I could not. Yeah, she does. I want to say 60 plus. She's the baby of the group. But with that said, I couldn't do the things that I do without her. She's a massive support system for me. And
it's obvious.
I'm a mule. Just put stuff on me and I'll go forward and I'll go through whatever. Even if it takes me a little longer, I'm still going to do it, right? And I'm going to persevere no matter what. But she's always there supporting, and she loves it. And it's not.
It was obvious.
It's innate. That's just
so
her.
Happy for both. Of you.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. And I don't. It was kind of funny. Brad and I were talking about it. I don't know, a few weeks ago. He was like, "I don't know that there's anybody in this world that does not like your wife. She's just that person, right? She's just a sweet-hearted girl, and she's just good."
I think at our age, you get a level of discernment that within, a few minutes, you can size someone up. You can feel their energy and their aura, and she does. She has a level of poise, and again, there's that word humbleness.
Yes,
that's very heartwarming.
Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely, I'm definitely the more high-strung one, and she's the one that's just even.
Good counterbalance.
100%, 100%. So no, I appreciate it. She's definitely one in a million. So I have a question for you.
Sure, yeah.
What has brought your focus to working out in fitness as much as it had? Where did this start? Was this something that started like in high school? Were you involved in sports? Where did it start for you?
And it's interesting. I'm gonna try not to get emotional here.
No,
but you kind of sparked. You kind of hit a nerve, and this is something I haven't even discussed with my closest friends. I don't even think Haley and Austin, my children, but where my fitness journey started was in high school. I was a mid-distance to long-distance runner, so I ran 800-mile. Were my specialty. I ran Houston Marathon a couple times. I was 15 to 17 years old, and when I was 16, when I was a sophomore, I ran 2,200 miles.
Holy shit.
That year, cross-country track. And our coach, he was a wonderful guy, Drew Dunlap. I'm UT grad, Southwest Conference champion at 800-meter. But his philosophy was, we're going to run 5 miles every morning. And then in the afternoon, we're going to show up at the track, and you're going to run, for example, 5 pace miles at a 5:30 pace. So you run a 5:30 mile, you rest 2 or 3 minutes, and boom.
Yeah.
And so I was logging 65 miles a week when I was a kid. And Mike, to tell you that, lived in a neighborhood, grew up outside of Houston, and the neighborhood was exactly a 2-mile loop. And everyone in the neighborhood knew who that 15, 16-year-old kid was, because it could be 95, 100, and I'd be out there running every day, especially in the summer. And I look back, I was doing that to escape a very toxic household environment. I don't want to go into the detail, but it really provided a very healthy escape. Whereas some of my friends, were doing drugs and alcohol, that was my escape. Was running, and I was a relatively decent competitor. And then I look at so that I would say that was a life event that I had to endure. And then fast forward, post college, I was lifting weights, going to the gym and doing body part. Oh, today I'm going to do chest, and I'm going to do tricep, and tomorrow I'm going to do back and bi. And I just
the old bro split.
I just and I was pumping heavy weights and could still run a pretty good pretty good mile, but I just became fatigued, and I needed something. I needed a goal to compete, and that's when I discovered high rock. So I started running, 20 to 30 miles a week, and I've done that consistently. For I'd say probably the last 10 years. But there was another reason to escape. And fitness provided that opportunity, and training for these events just provided a way for me to get out of a very challenging environment and do so in a very healthy manner. It wasn't like necessarily running and avoiding it, because I was facing this head on in this relationship, but being able to 2 hours a day, which would be probably considered extreme, to train, to meet up with my buddies, meet up with Brighton Bach down at Vic Mathias Shores or Audi Shores to do a workout outdoors. It just really provided a reset for me. So I do it, more so today, I think, for the software, for my mind, mentally, so that I do what I can to minimize anxiety, that type of depression. We all struggle with that. And two, yes, I do it for the hardware, so I can compete and still hold it together. I have a goal, and one of my goals is to be a grandfather. And not only a grandfather, but a great-grandfather. And to see a great-grandchild graduate. And what that means is I need to make it to mid-90s. And I think I can do that as long as I don't get rolled over by a bus.
Just the little things, right?
Right. I really think I got a shot.
No, I mean, and you're a beast. How old are you? I know, but
I'm 57, will be 58 mid-March.
You are in ridiculous shape. You know that. Most 20-year-olds aren't in the shape that you're in. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just to look at some of that, it gives goals for people like myself, right? I think from a strength and endurance standpoint, I'm stronger and fitter than I have ever been. Granted, I can't get rid of this muffin top, right? But I'm gonna, and you had stated just run more. So I'm gonna do it, right?
You're a 1%. You're a 1%er, and to see you embrace the pain and put in the work that you did for high rocks, you're going to be fine. You look great.
No, I'm just I'm excited because it's something new that I can do, right? And something that I can learn. I'm very much always lean towards the side of, if I can't do something and learn something, I just don't want to do it, right? I'm at that point in my life where I don't want to waste my time with friends, with relationships, or anything, right? We only have so much time left on this earth. I want to make sure it's valuable.
Yeah, I mean, you and I mean, the average is what, 77 for a male? So, I mean, if I make it, I'm blessed. I make it another 20. So, time is short, and I've got one tattoo on my body. My daughter took me to a tattoo parlor down Austin about 2 years ago, and it's Memento Mori. And so I look at that every day, and Memento Mori is live each day like it's your last. And so I'm constantly reminding myself.
It's true, because it can be, you never know, right? When your card's pulled.
But when you, I think it was Brad, you and I, a couple of weeks ago, we went to the Well to have brunch and a little bromance. We were talking about the conversation gravitated toward that circle. And I've got a broad circle like you, but I like to keep the circumference tight. And I just will not allow people into my circle that don't align with my lifestyle and my morals, and about toxic people. I'm just not going to do it. I'll support anyone. I'll backstop anyone. But people that just repetitively make mistakes, and there's nothing. You're not getting anything out of that relationship. I don't have time for that.
No, you've got to be able to pour into someone and have them pour into you with no holds barred, right? You know, and it's something that over the past couple of years I feel that I've leaned into is supporting my buddies. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, calling and checking up on them, saying, "Hey man, I love you. You did fucking awesome. This is great. You know, how can I help you? What do you need help with?" It's okay to tell individuals, because you can't help if you don't know, and things like that. And as men, we're taught, you know, to just hold everything inside, and that's ultimately what breaks men.
Right.
You know, and it's healthy to get those things out, and there's nothing wrong with it. You become stronger.
I agree, and I don't align with a lot of people. I'm not the guy that on Friday or Saturday night is going to be out at a bar drinking until 2 a.m. I'm going to be in bed at 9:30 or 10, and I'm going to wake up at 6:30 or 7 on a Saturday. I'm going to be at the gym, or I'm going to be at the park with you, Brad, and Lon, and the crew, working out. I don't want to miss a day, and I feel for those that adhere to that lifestyle, because they're missing a large part of their life. And again, no judgment. No judgment.
No, 100%.
I'm not legalistic about alcohol. Every once in a while, I will have a glass of wine on a date or something, but it's just really insignificant. And I have, admittedly, not me personally, but there's been a couple chapters in my life where I've dealt with people that are severe alcoholics. It's just not.
It's tough.
It is. Alcohol, you know, permeates our society, and it's viewed as this celebratory product, when in essence it's destructionary. And if I think of all the worst times in my life, these couple of chapters that I had with people that had a major issue with alcohol, I mean, it was daunting, and I just can't take a risk of being tied to that in any form or fashion.
No, I get, and plus on top of that, let's be real. You don't bounce back the way you used to when you were young, right? You just, I mean, you can have a few too many, and it'll linger for a couple days.
I'd be wiped out. If I had 4 or 5 beers, I'd be down for
it. It just doesn't work. You know, the hilarious thing is, years ago, I had to stop drinking beer. And I was like, okay, I'm finally getting old, because it just would bloat me so bad that I couldn't, the only thing I could drink was like a Corona or something like that, but it would just bloat me so bad. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm done with beer, you know? And I wasn't a heavy beer drinker as it was either.
Look, man, I did my share of beer drinking in high school, college, post-college. It just doesn't. It just doesn't mesh with my life.
Well, and it changes, right? Your needs and your wants changes depending on your focus, right? You know, and what's wild is being in the bar industry. I was in the bar industry from the time I was 21 till about 27, 28, anywhere from working security to bartending, managing, you name it, right? And it was wild through that stint. I always had it as a secondary job. I always had a main job, right? And the service industry itself was fun, because you got to hang out with your friends and you got paid for it, right? You know, so I got to go out and I got paid for it, and it was cash, you know? So I paid all my bills with my main job, and that was my fun money, right? And then being in the service industry, you ate free at different restaurants, you know, a little give and take here and there. And it was phenomenal. But I had to leave for like 6 months, because there was times where I would drink and we'd start at, you know, 6 p.m. when we got there, and I wouldn't remember past midnight. And there became a time where I was like, this is getting to be and I wouldn't have a hangover in the morning. And so then it was like, I've got to leave. And I left for 6 months and came back. And I could drink socially and everything else. But from then, I don't know what it was. I was just like, I'm good. I've experienced that. You know, but the thing that was wild was from, you know, that 21 to 27, that, you know, 5 to 6, 7 year span that I did it, I would see the exact same people. You know what I mean? And like, it was like Wednesday night, you went to Dallas nightclub. Everybody went to Dallas nightclub. We called it the meat market. You know what I mean? You went there for 2 reasons, to drink and hook up. You know, then Thursday was dance across. I was in the country bar scene more than anything. And you just went to all these different ones, and it was the same people over and over again. And you stand back and you look, and I remember being behind the bar looking out going, every one of these people has been together at one point or another, you know? And that kind of gave me perspective. And that was after I kind of stopped drinking, you know.
Sure.
And again, I'd still, you know, drink occasionally when we go to the deer ranch. You know, we definitely have some Jameson.
Right.
But everything in moderation, because again, you don't repair the same way you did. But it's easy to fall into ruts, right?
It is.
And addictions.
Right.
And addictions show up in different forms. I have an addictive personality.
Same.
I dipped forever. I started dipping when I was like 14, and then I would smoke to stop dipping, and then I would dip to stop smoking.
I would have never imagined that.
Yeah, up until I dipped probably up until late 30s.
Okay.
And this is the type of person that Bristol is, right? She's like, I know you do it. I don't like it. I'm not going to, you know, get upset or anything else. And her way to do it was, you know, when we're 80 years old and we're on that porch swing that you want to be on, I want you to be next to me.
Profound.
And she was like, that's all I'm going to say. And so more than anything, I was like, you know what I mean? Right. Versus going, oh, you know, I hate when you do that or whatever. She didn't have to do that. She just went, I just want you around. And so I stopped.
Good for you.
You know, and again, it goes back to that. She's got just ways, and she knows how to work me.
Yeah,
you know,
no
and she
doubt.
exact same thing.
Great.
But and then I had to move that addiction. You know, and then I got back into fitness a lot more and stuff like that because I've got to have something, right? And I think we all do. We just don't understand it that way.
Agree.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
And it seems like even fitness has become a bit of that. To you. And it's easy for something to become an addiction, and that's not a negative term, right? But it's something you find peace in. What does any addiction bring someone or think that it brings them? Some sort of peace and solitude, whether it's alcohol, drugs, fitness, this, that, running, whatever, it does something to their brain that they think helps. You know, and I've got a good friend of mine, Khalil Rafati, that owns Sun Life.
Oh my God, I'm reading his book right now. I'm
it's intense.
3/4 in, and it was just, I mean, it's like shocking what he endured.
It's insane.
A child leaving, I think he left Ohio and went to California, and the abuse and drugs and alcohol, and to see where he is today. And I don't know the full story, but the book is like, I just literally started it last weekend, and it's on the side of my bed, and it is like compelling. I'd love to meet him.
It is. He's a great guy. He said, we'll make it happen for sure. Great guy.
I'd love to meet him. What a story.
Great guy. And if you can, after you read the book, download the audiobook.
Okay.
Because I've done both.
Is it him narrating?
It's him narrating.
Oh, okay.
And so the inflection in his voice, when he hits those rough times, that's when you're like, oh, because it just yanks.
For him to have survived that, to be alive today, and to be a successful entrepreneur, it's a remarkable story.
I know. He's a phenomenal person. But, you know, that's even what he said. I had an addiction. It needed to change. I had to take my addiction from here and put it over here. And he'll tell you, I'm an addict. Yeah. It may move.
Right. Yeah.
Because I have that personality.
Channeling it in a new direction. And when I lived out in Malibu for 6 months, I lived right across the street, I think, from the original location. And I was spending about $200 a month. And one day I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell am I doing spending $20 on an acai bowl? But it's an incredible product, and the ingredients and the care that goes into it, and he's just a master when it comes to marketing and messaging, and it's a phenomenal business model.
And it's nice to see individuals be who they are.
Right.
What you see is what you get. There is no candy coating. There's nothing. Sometimes shit will come out of his mouth, and you're like, "Did you just say that?" And he'll be like, "I sure did," you know. But that's him, and that's where his beauty is.
Yeah.
You know that you never have to worry about where he stands at all, and so it's really kind of refreshing. And I think a lot more people need to do that.
Okay, we need to invite him to one of our bromance sessions
100%
at the well. That would be great.
He's a good cat. He really is. He really is. So work-wise, I know that you were in you and Lisa Copeland worked in the auto industry. Give me a little bit of background. What have you done outside of that?
So in college, I sold cars. I worked for a Ford franchise and worked about 30 hours a week. And after I graduated, I went to work for what was then Chrysler Corporation. So I was 22 years old. I was this frat guy, but I had a goal in mind. I had, an income goal and had aspirations. So I spent my 20s, 30s, and 40s climbing the corporate ladder. It was very, very intense. And family and I reload, I think, nine times over a 23-year period. So we lived all across the country.
Wow.
And each time I took on more responsibility and more, more employees and more revenue and it just, I just burned. I got to be honest. I burned out. It became a very hostile, toxic work environment. I unfortunately experienced the BK chapter with Chrysler and was managing a very large region that had 400 dealers under my team, and sadly we had to shutter 100 businesses in 7 states, and I got to be honest, I've never recovered from that. The bankruptcy instrument can be very cold, and so anyway, I left Chrysler in 2013. I won't go into all the details, but discovered a startup software solution out of Tampa and ended up partnering with some guys, earned some equity, and we provide equity mining for car dealers. We sold to a local company in 2016 here, and since then it has sold 2 other times. So I've just been able to roll forward the last 3 times it's sold. And it's an incredible solution.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think are some of the things? What are, I try to make goals prior to the year, so that way I don't feel like I'm making New Year's resolutions, right? Because it's always, you can start today. You don't have to wait for the first, right? What are some of the things that you are looking forward to or that you have planned at least this year going forward?
Yeah, one thing that, I used to do goals every year, spiritual, financial, health, et cetera. And now there's one word. If you were to ask my team, what is Todd's word? And a word that's very important to me is relevancy. Staying, and I know you're a believer in this also, based on the conversations that we've had. So I think it's extremely important, especially for someone that's 57 that's in the tech industry, to remain relevant. And so I've constantly encouraged my team to study the competition, study AI. I spend countless hours listening to, there's hundreds of podcasts on artificial intelligence. I'm super intrigued by that. I mean, if you look at what's happening with AI right now, Meta's going to spend $60 million. They're building a data center that's the size of Manhattan. Microsoft is spending actually a B, 60. Yeah, Meta's $60 billion, Microsoft $80 billion. And we have to understand that it's going to impact every industry, every sector. And so I'm just like enthralled by it. So, and if I'm in my car, when I drive back later, after we wrap up, I'll be listening to an AI podcast. So I'm just constantly, because I do think, especially guys that are in their 50s or 60s, a lot of them think they got it all figured out, and they think that the way you did business in 1995 is still applicable today. And I just never want to become that guy. I don't want to be irrelevant. And so that's just one example. And I've learned a lot from you and Brad and other people that are in this fitness community. Not only working out and the aesthetics and diet and all that, but business and life and relationships. And don't get me started there. But yeah, relevancy.
No, it is wild. I love it and I use it, and I'm also scared by it, right? Because you're like, it learns so fast. Will it replace people? Absolutely. However, things like this happen, period, right? There's gonna, there's times where everything was done by hand and it's no longer done that way. we will have to adjust,
right?
You know, but I find it super intriguing. I'm not a good writer, but ChatGPT makes me look like a good writer.
It's
you know,
amazing where you can just be walking on the trail and say, hey, here's my narrative, here's the message I need to develop, and boom, 5 seconds later it's done, and you can just tweak it. But I think, like I said, everything will be impacted. I think longevity. I think now that at some point, human potential in terms of longevity is 120.
Wow.
And they're real close. There's a startup right now that is real close to being able to simulate genes or cells. And when you get to that point, that opens the door to all kinds of testing.
Yeah.
Whether it's holistic or pharmacology. Yeah, I love watching and studying.
That's insane.
All of this.
It was funny years ago when Bristol and I got together. We wanted to have. She's always wanted to have a house full of kids, and at a young age, I did so many steroids it burned me, right? So I didn't produce anything hardly. Like to the point that we went to a fertility doctor. They tested me, and my testosterone was 90. And the guy was like, "How on earth are you even awake at this point?" But it was something, I had the bad Mexico steroids. We would literally drive down to Mexico, take our door panels off, and load our truck in the door panels with all sorts of who knows what was in it, right? And that was the bar days, right? And it was all a matter of how big you could get,
right?
And we were just didn't care, and it killed my nuts. So I didn't produce at all. So we had gone to, how when you fly, American Airlines, especially in the back, they all have the, this doctor's, profound and these different things. It was one of the guys that was a fertility doctor, and he was in Dallas. So we had gone there and did a couple in vitro type things, stuff like that. And we were sitting at the table, and he goes, the science has come to the point that you can pick your sex, you can pick your hair color, you can pick your eye color, you can pick all of this. And I looked at Bristol and I said, I'm done. I'll get another dog. And she understood. Well, plus, get this. This is I'll sidestep because I was producing so little, and I was on all this other stuff to try to help me produce. And he goes, you've got enough. What we can do is we'll have a little surgery, and we'll unravel. And it gives me the pee-pee shivers because he was like, your testicle's like a ball of yarn. We'll unroll it and we'll hand pick sperm out of there. And I was like, I'm done. I'm out.
A little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm out. And especially when you could basically order what you wanted. And I was like, now you're messing with God, right?
Right.
And that just felt a little funky to me. And so we left. But I look at AI kind of the same way, right? And again, always wanted a daughter. And I have a pseudo daughter that I call, she does all of our social media and stuff. And so I've adopted her. She's young enough that, that's my daughter, and that's how I treat her.
I love that.
And you'll meet her. She'll be in town end of the month.
Look forward to it.
But with that said, similarly, my wife has also said God said no on purpose. But and truthfully, I would have locked her in her room till she was 30 and fed her under the door. So I don't know how people do it with daughters because, orange is not necessarily my color, but I probably would have ended up in that,
Sure. Yeah.
So it's, So to the point, AI, I love it, but in the same sense, I'm kind of scared of it because of things like that.
We should be. Yeah, we should be. It is a little daunting. I think it will create jobs initially, but I think there will be a tapering.
Yeah, and there's total learning curve. I mean, even if you go into restaurants nowadays, in some places, like, I remember, was it a couple years ago, there's a big news article on how McDonald's even got rid of most of the employees, and you just go to a screen and order. And and you start looking at some of that stuff, and you're like, yeah, they can replace.
Just everything that's going on, even in the city. You go downtown, and there's 100 Waymo cars that are self-driving, autonomous, and people.
And they don't call in sick,
right?
And they don't have this problem or that problem, or their kids aren't late for school, and and it makes sense from a business standpoint, right?
And I get up in the morning, I go in the kitchen, and Alexa's like, "Hey, it may be time to order coffee," and I please order coffee. Boom, it's done. And it arrives the next day.
How awesome is that?
It's AI,
Yeah, it's kind of funny too. I'm very big, and I love techie stuff. And like our house, you know, at different times of the day, the lights hit certain levels and the ACs and stuff like that. So 10 o'clock, it's kind of funny. The entire house goes boom, and the AC comes on, you know, no matter what it is. We got it on 68, you know, but it's kind of funny because, you know, Bristol will go, I guess it's time to go to bed, you know, because the whole house comes down.
Yeah.
But I love that, though. I'm geeky like that, you know, but it's just little goofy stuff like that. So I'm intrigued by it. But again, scared.
Yeah.
You know?
Me too.
So relevancy, that's phenomenal. So you want to stay relevant. And a portion of that is education, as you say, you know, and very much of the same mindset that if you are not learning, you are not growing.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's again, I spent a lot of time on the software. So it's education, and I think we're wired a lot,
Yeah.
and I have a hard time like putting it in first gear and or neutral and just slowing down, especially on the weekends. It's like, okay, we're going to work out, we're going to grind, we're going to go to lunch. I rarely sit, and I'm very cognizant of that. And so there are things that I do. So Sundays, typically I force myself. I wake up, I go grab my coffee, I get in bed, and for like an hour and a half, I just read. I might meditate. And another thing that I started doing about 2 years ago is I go to group meditations or sound baths or breath work. And it's just amazing. There's a place off of, it's right basically off Barton Springs. It's called Third Eye.
Okay.
And I was there last weekend on a Saturday night, maybe when everybody else was out partying or having a nice dinner. I was laying on my back with 30 people going through a 90-minute guided breathwork session.
I would love to do something like that.
Man, we should go.
Yeah.
We should go. I mean, it's so therapeutic. And I, at times, when I do breath work and I'm really into it, you just it's almost like a psychedelic experience. You
100%.
start getting numb and tingly. And when you come out of that, there's this serenity about it.
Wow.
So I do that quite a bit. And journaling. Writing is, I had years ago in Dallas, I was going to a psychologist, and the guy leaned in. He's like, hey, do you write? Do you journal? And I was like, no, I've never had. He said, let me tell you what, the majority of psychologists would be put out of business if people would just slow down and write. So that's something I started doing when I lived in California. Nature really inspires me, so a lot of my writing is poetic and symbolic. And so yeah, just anything I can do to
keep it going,
stay level, avoid any type of anxiety and depression and fitness and all of this, and a healthy diet, and surrounding myself with guys like you and Brad and Lon, and I can go on and on. Really keeps me in a safe place.
Yeah, no, it's wild where and how fast your mind can put you in a situation that's unhealthy. You know, it's kind of funny that you bring up you're constantly doing something. We have not necessarily a routine, but we'll eat dinner, and then after that, you know, Bristol may, you know, flip through social media or something like that, and I'll do it for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, 5-10 minutes. And then she knows what's going to happen. I get up and I start organizing this, getting ready for the next day, doing some laundry, doing this. And she laughs and she's like, you cannot sit down. Man. And I'm just,
we're from the same mother.
Right?
Yeah, no
because if I sit too long, and it's tough in a deer stand, right? But if I sit there I just get antsy. I'm like, I could be doing this. I could be accomplishing this. I could be doing this.
Right, yeah.
You know?
I do, and I have a healthy level, I'd say, of perfectionism. I like my place clean. I don't like clutter. And I don't like anything undone, whether it's work or personal life.
Yeah, no. Everything has its place, and it's supposed to be there because that's the way God intended it. And 100%, you know, because, you know, it's, you know, the kids, when they were younger, would go, hey, where's the stapler? Third drawer from the right on my desk. It's, you know, halfway back. Make sure you put it exactly where you found it, you know, and they just thought that was the craziest thing. However, I always knew where everything was. Or if it didn't make it back there when I went for it, I knew who to go to, right? And so they make fun of that. But, you know, I think that there's an advantage to knowing, doing those things.
You know, what's cool is I think we have good, solid self-awareness.
Yeah. No, and that's important too.
Yeah.
And it may have taken a while to have been pointed out, you know.
Self-awareness, and my big word is vulnerability.
Yes.
So like just doing this and sharing things.
Yeah.
I would have never done. I would have never laid on my back with a group of strangers and hippies and did a breath work session. I never.
Yeah.
I do believe too that at our age, that anybody who's 40 and beyond, you have to push yourself. You have to experiment. You have to try new things. Otherwise, you just go into this mode of neutrality or homeostasis.
100%.
And you start wilting.
And that's what ultimately kills you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I had an old business partner that I always used to joke with, and he was in his 70s, and I was like, "When are you going to retire?" And he's like, "I never will."
Yeah.
Because the year I do is the year I die.
Right.
Because if I'm not doing something with my brain, my body won't go.
I agree.
And that's always stuck in my head because I've had the same mentality. I love what I do. I have no reason never to not work, right? Because I don't consider it work.
Yeah, well, that's great. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Because with me, I go back to my corporate days with Chrysler.
Yep.
20s, 30s, 40s, it was about success, making more money, a title, and I was chasing this dream. I was following the herd.
Yep.
And today, it's no longer part of my identity and my self-worth. Back then, it was 90% my self-worth. I'm going to outperform you. My team is going to be the most successful, and work is still important. Don't get me wrong; it's super important, but it really doesn't make up who I am and my self-worth. Because I would go to bed at night and I'd be thinking, "Are we going to hit our retail target? Are we going to hit our wholesale target? Oh my God, I got this HR issue. I got a board meeting in Detroit." And I'd just be ruminating. I mean, sleeping 4 or 5 hours, traveling 50% of the time. And I was on this this real toxic corporate train. It was. I got to be honest. It was like a cult-like experience, man. I was all in, and I flourished in it to a point, and then it broke me down. So I'm very, very careful. I've got more awareness now, and I'm not going to let a title or a job define who I am as an individual. And I think as men, we struggle. I think a lot of men struggle with that, workaholics and making more money so I can buy the bigger house and the bigger boat and the second and third home. Been there, done that.
And what did that get you? Nothing.
We're not going to take it with us, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny. I love spoiling my wife, right? She's never been, like before we got together, she was never really a purse girl or a this, that, and the other, and I forced that upon her. However, she would rather, instead of take a material object, go travel somewhere. Yeah. And she says it all the time. She's like, I don't need this. I can do without this, but we're going to go to London for a long weekend, and she'll plan it out. Because, and I've said it 102 times, you can lose everything tomorrow. Right. Look at the California fires. You lose everything that you bought, but you can never take memories away. No one can take those from you.
True.
And it's those moments and those times together that, in those memories that can never be taken, right? And so family is super important to her, getting all the boys together. Our youngest is 20 now. And so all the others are starting to float out and start to live their lives. And so that's the most important thing to her, is bringing everybody back together.
I love that, man. I've got two just amazing, I got to talk about them.
Yes, please.
I'll get misty-eyed here.
Yeah.
I've got two amazing kids. I went through a divorce 2 years ago, but the beauty, that marriage were these two amazing young adults. So my daughter and son both struggled in high school, went to Lakeway High School and had some issues. Neither one of them graduated. They dropped out.
Okay.
And as a parent, you're just, you're freaking out. Oh my God, you're going to a foundation, you're going to go to college, I'm going to be raising a woman child and a man child. You're going to be at home at 26 years old and playing Xbox. And man, did they prove me wrong. They both went to ACC, did well. Daughter got accepted to UT, graduated with highest honors in psychology, working on her master's right now. Will graduate here in just a few months. Just really proud of her. She's engaged, and she is just just an amazing young lady. And on the other side, my son, Austin from Austin.
Yeah.
He's finishing up his last few courses at LSU online. I think I told you he started a mastic gum company.
Yep,
Zeno.
I've bought some.
Yeah,
I've got some.
Zeno Gum, and
Yeah.
he is started this company. It's just so cool to see these kids from their apartments start these businesses. They just get it. Their level of marketing sophistication and understanding technology. But he launched this company on TikTok last year and sold $13,000 worth of gum in 3 days. So he's really, he's flourishing, doing well, getting ready to launch a copyright business on top of the gum.
Wow.
And he's 22.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be more proud. And there's nothing that I wouldn't do for them. And we just have this very open, straightforward relationship. They're everything.
It's pretty awesome. You know, it's funny. One of the when we originally a while back talked about your kids, you said that they were the greatest thing you ever created, and that stuck out big time to me. And I was like, wow.
I wanted to give them what I always wanted as a kid, because I didn't have a father and was then put into a very abusive situation. And so I've gone probably overboard in terms of pouring into them and investing in them, almost off payroll.
Almost.
I'm like months away. I'm just like, wow, I'm not paying rent. I'm not paying for college. I'm not paying for food.
You can get a pay raise, right?
Right. And So, but no, it's they're very special people.
Yep.
Very, very.
That is phenomenal.
I look forward to you meeting them.
Yeah. I can't wait for it. You know, it's something we were talking about earlier, just this environment that we're here at the Collective has always been something that's remarkable to sit back and look at, because there's a ton of young entrepreneurs that you look at, and most of them are extremely humble, like you would never know.
And they're so creative.
I know. And again, you just would have no idea. You know, and that gives me hope.
I'm glad that they're not. Again, we talked about this earlier. Is one of my notions or themes is not follow. I'm not going to follow the herd. I'm not going to do it. And to see these kids do that, like Austin told me, he's like, Dad, I will never be a pawn. I will never go to work for a corporation. I've watched you do it for years, and I don't care if I've got to live in a tent on the beach. I just will not be owned by a corporation. Again, I don't want to knock corporations. I wouldn't be where I am today without the help of a corporation or two. But it is that to see that entrepreneurial spirit and the creativity and the way they just figure things out, it's amazing.
Well, and the phone has been a blessing and a curse, right? And a lot of it is that, right? That's where they've learned most of this, right? And so to that extent, that's a catch-22, right? Because I remember when my kids were young, it was like, get off your phone, get off your phone, get off your phone. And then to see them do things like this, you're like, you don't really have an argument, right? But at least limit it, right? Is what we tried to preach now, but a blessing and a curse,
Absolutely.
But I think the market's going to change big time. The world's been built on small businesses, but even more so, and especially convenience, because we've turned into a society of convenience. Hence, you need coffee, and things like that. So anything that's made convenient will prosper. It's kind of funny. I graduated high school, and I only did about a year and a half at ACC. And I hated school, hated, and got in the building industry at a young age. I started selling building materials while I was working in the bar business. And then at 24, had the opportunity to start building. And myself and one of my very best friends did most of the work ourselves for the first couple, and then got in and built some homes with the city of Austin, and ended up building a couple hundred with the city of Austin. Wow. And so from 24 on, I've just been building. And I don't know any different, right? And I could not. Now, granted, there was a stint where I worked, and I actually got a W-2 paycheck from Habitat for Humanity.
Okay. All right.
but it worked out phenomenally. We got them from building 7 houses to 40 houses. I gave them a 2-year stint as long as I could continue to own my business and work my business at the same time. Yeah, it was awesome. So I've got a big heart for that as well. Yeah. But I don't know that I could go work for anybody anymore because I don't know that I know how to, right? So it's wild, and I love entrepreneurship, and I love seeing these kids do things that are just miraculous. And if there's anything that I can do to help, they can take what they want and leave the rest. I love that. I've never had a mentor up until a couple weeks ago, and I think I may have told you about Sharon Lecter.
I've heard Lisa talk about her for years.
She is a beast.
That's what I understand.
And she's going to help us take what we're doing. You know, my wife and I can do X amount, right? You know, we really have this product that we're building. It's called the legacy product. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we make a good living and we build houses and we were selling everything. And Bristol and I stepped back and we were like, why aren't we would take our profit and go buy a rental house. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why don't we build several, sell a few, and keep a few? That makes more sense. And we want this to live for legacies. And, you know, you look at anytime we take on a project, I look at what are the problems? What are the things that's wrong? And then I work backwards. How do you fix these things? And so we're really concentrating, and Sharon's going to help us take this nationwide, because I'd love to have several thousand of these. And that's what we're working on now.
Something tells me you're going to do that.
Hell yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. You know,
in your eyes.
And again, it's taking in the knowledge that you don't know, or it could be in front of you because you get caught in a hamster wheel. You run like this.
We're coming back to my word, relevancy.
Yes.
You're not afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Oh, we're a lot of guys that are our age. I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
I need your help.
100%. I'm all about, and I've always kind of been this way. There's enough for everybody. I've never been selfish. I love winning with people I want to win with, you know? And I'm at that age that I don't want to do business with people I don't want to do business with. Sure. I don't want friends that don't add to my life and I can't add to theirs. And meaningful relationships are huge. That's all I want in life. That will bring happiness. If you can pour into other individuals and help them through different things and stuff, it's going to come back tenfold. So it's very much, down from, I'm very much of the mindset. I believe in frequencies. I believe in grounding. I believe in manifesting. I'm definitely a Christian. And I think all of that comes together. And it may not have been taught that way, but I think that's how it was meant to be.
Yeah, man, just what you just said, it was just like, we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
I wish you were a female.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And they're out there, but it's just the thing that's nice is being able to have these conversations with your fellow men, because that's not common. You know what I mean?
I would agree.
So, well, it's been a pleasure. Very thankful. I'd love to probably have you back again. And I know that there's a lot more that we can go through, but I appreciate you, Todd. And thanks again.
No, I appreciate you too, man. Glad we collided a couple months ago.
Absolutely, brother.
All right, man. Thank you.